Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over my free-to-play old-school RuneScape money-making method. In under 1 month, I end up getting over 10 million gold. This is actually the first time I've ever had 10 million, but we end up getting it pretty quickly, so I'll be going over that method. Has literally no requirements. I did all of this on a level 3, doesn't require any skills at all, and the little bit of money that I did make from some of the other skills like crafting and such, I made sure to remove from this. All 10 million of this was done using only about an hour every single day, either just buying more resources or just selling it out. So I'll be going over the method of what I call high Alch selling. I don't know if it has another name other than that, but it's currently the most profitable thing that I know of that you can do in free-to-play other than just flipping in the Grand Exchange. So let's get into explaining it in depth. To be able to implement high Alch selling, you will need to identify the multiple prices that every single item can be sold for. The one that most people know is the Grand Exchange price. This is where you can just buy them from the Grand Exchange in the bulk that you want them with. Normally, this is determined by whatever the demand is for the item at the time. Obviously, this is a steel sword. There is not much demand for it. People just make it through the smithing skill for smithing EXP, so its value is pretty much nothing. But there are two values that are always standard regardless of how much they are or are not in demand, and those are the low alchemy and the high alchemy price for every single item. As you can see right here, here is the low alchemy price for the sword. This triggers whenever you use the low alchemy spell on it, or if you sell it to a general store. The high alchemy price triggers if you use high alchemy. You can see this guy over here is using the high alchemy spell by the little animation that he is doing. And it also triggers by two other means. One is whenever you sell it to a specialty store. For example, this is a steel sword. If we sell it in the Varrock sword shop, it will sell for the high Alch price, just a little bit lower, because if there's a higher stock in the shop, it will sell for a little bit less. But there is a shop in the wilderness, a general store, that will buy any item in the game for high Alch price, and that is what we utilize to be able to get all of our 10 million. To show these prices in action, here we are in Varrock. As you can see, if we price check this sword, it does go for the 130 gold as it's low alchemy. Do keep in mind, as you sell them to shops, their value does slightly start to go down the more you sell. You can see after doing 5 of them, we have now gone down to an 81, which is still pure profit since we can buy them for 33 gold right now. And you can see that's just a general low Alch area. But if we come over here and now do it to the sword shop, this is a specialty shop which will buy swords, as you can see, and they will buy it at the high Alch value, 195. And of course, similar to every single store, as more stock goes in, it will reduce in price. One really good thing about these specialty stores and the wilderness one is that they diminish much less, as you can see with the lower difference between the general store price of almost 50 and the lower one here, which is only about 33. So it makes a pretty big difference, but neither of these are the method you should be doing, because there is an even better one. So here we are at the money making method. This is the shop in 23 wilderness. Of course, you do want to have food and be careful here, but this is just to show the shop. As you can see, there is the high Alch price, and one good benefit of this compared to any of the specialty shops is we can sell literally every item we have here for its full Alch price. And something else that is pretty nice, since there is a cape shop just sitting right over there, we'll be able to just head right there and make about 400 GP each on these capes too. Just buy a couple of them and we'll get all of them that we'll need. If any of them ever attack you, you just talk to it again. That'll lock it in place to make sure none of them can hit you, and just buy all the capes you want, and then you head right back to the bank with all your wealth and all of your capes of money. If any of you are wondering where I am getting these high Alch and low Alch prices from, because obviously most people do not have these memorized and would take forever if you actually tried checking every single one of these on a shop, Well, you can just go to the 2007 RuneScape Wikia. Go to that website and it will bring you to any kind of search. You can just search them in the search bar all the way up here for whatever item you need or want to try to sell through this method, and it will give you all the vital information you need, all the high alch and low alch, which is the most important, particularly the high alch price, and it'll tell you what it's going for in Grand Exchange, its kind of exchange rate, and basically everything you would ever need to know about it. One other pretty good information, which it doesn't have on every single item, is the buy limit. The buy limit of most weaponry and armors is 125. I can say right now, without a shadow of a doubt, that this steel sword is indeed a 125 buy limit. Most material like that is. Things that have a much higher buy limit in the thousands are things like logs and materials that you tend to need a lot of, and they have a higher raised buy limit as far as those are concerned. As far as these lower buy limit ones, this is where I was kind of going about, where it's like an hour a day, because you will have to chip at it just day by day, because there will be buy limits and you won't be able to just constantly do this money making method back to back to back. There has to be some time in between so that you can actually buy your materials, because a lot of the really big value ones, like you can see this steel sword here, we're making over 150 profit on every single one. If we can do multiple at once, well, or you can only buy about 125 every single time the buy limit occurs. So do keep that in mind when trying to find materials for this method. So, how do we go about getting to the bandit camp in order to sell all of our stuff? Well, here are a couple paths that you can take. With a free-to-play, with a level 3, or if you have less than 25 magic, you'll just have to go straight from Edgeville, which is right at this bank right here. It's a pretty common PvP spot. Most of you are probably aware of it. You just go pretty much straight north, a little bit northwest from Edgeville, and go all the way to the bandit camp, then take that exact same path to get back. I am aware that there is a canoe system that you can take right along that river if you have 57 woodcutting, but I did try it on my other account and it really isn't any quicker. It's basically the exact same speed, so you might as well just take this path. The next one is if you have 25 magic or more, you can be wearing a air staff with a law rune and a fire rune and just be able to teleport to Varrock. There's two really good big benefits from this. One is you'll be able to go past the Grand Exchange as you're doing this method in case you want to quickly stock up on something. If you want to do this like back to back to back, this would be a pretty good teleport to go to, because you can always check on the Grand Exchange to get more items that you may want to buy. One other pretty good method about this in free-to-play is at level 20 Wilderness or lower, whereas where that V is on that map, you can use a Varrock teleport as long as you have 25 magic and those following runes of just an air staff, or 3 air runes, a law, and a fire. And of course the air staff counts as all the air runes, and you'll be able to go down to 20 Wilderness. If someone starts attacking or anything, you can easily just go down a few. It's really close. Just eating one food will likely be able to get you down, and then you can just Varrock teleport and repeat it all again. There is one other method though, and this is available for people who may have already gotten a bond or are already members and kind of want to do this method. And there are a lot of teleports, the main one being Burning Amulet. Burning Amulet will bring you directly to the bandit camp, only steps away. It brings it like right down at the bottom of the lava there, and you can just run upwards in order to get there, and then just teleport back with anything, an Amulet of Glory, a Ring of Dueling, or Crafting Cape to get to a bank. Really anything that can get you to a really close bank would be sufficient for that teleport. One thing to note about anyone who is doing this in a member's world, you will likely want to switch over to free-to-play, simply because Iron Man will likely be using that shop up like crazy, whereas in free-to-play, pretty much no one really uses a shop for the most part, and Wilderness is a lot safer in free-to-play than it is in pay-to-play by a mile. Now, what should our inventory look like when doing this money-making method? For one, energy potions are going to be added to free-to-play very soon. It is currently being polled, and in this very last position right there, we will want to have a energy potion, because this method does use a lot of energy. As far as the rest of our equipment, we'll want to be using any kind of armors, weapons, and anything else that will give us magic protection. As a level 3, magic will have the highest potential max hit, so we will want to, at least in free to play, so we will want to have a decent protection against it. Even if you are a higher level, you will likely want to still have as high as possible magic protection as you can, mainly because you'll have to worry about binds, and if you're doing this in members for some reason, you'll have to worry about teleport block and stuff like that. So go with the highest magic protection you can. Right now I'm just wearing full leather, basic staff, and that's about it, and an amulet of defense for standard magic defenses. Very cheap stuff. If we happen to lose it, won't really worry that much, though I haven't really seen anyone really do battle there. I've had 2 people attack me through getting all of this 10 million, so not too big of an issue in that regard. As far as our inventory space, you'll want to have as many high alcohols as you possibly can. You will want to go with cheaper ones, simply because of the high alch spell. The high alch spell does require you to use 1 nature rune every single time, which goes for about 250 GP or so as of this current moment. And a lot of these don't have the profit margin for people to be able to high alch, but it does have the profit margin for us to high alch sell. Of course, just use the website that I showed previously, and that will determine the items you can use, or you can simply just copy all the items that I have right here. Most of them are just all of the irrelevant ones that you would never really see people using, but are really, really good for selling in this method. You also want to have some kind of food. I'm just using jugs of wine simply because they're only 3 GP each and will heal you for 11, so really cheap, efficient food, and 11 heals plenty since I'm just using a level 3 and our max HP is only 10, so that's a full heal every single time we eat. Now just follow the path mentioned earlier and we can start selling all of this. When you're here, always be cautious. This is indeed in the wild, so you could be attacked. Of course, in free-to-play, this isn't really too active of an area at this current moment, but you never know. It could be eventually sometime in the future. If you don't feel safe coming here with this much of an inventory space, you can always have 20 magic and just be able to go down there and be able to teleport once we get to 20 wilderness. This entire shop is in 23 wilderness, except for the very last tile, which is in 24, as you can see right up here. Our inventory right now is as follows in value. It is nearly 200,000, and then we will go through the process of selling all of this and see how much we have. To do a full inventory, it only takes about 20 minutes per run or so. This is counting every single second from the run to this area, from getting all the way back to the bank. And when energy potions come in, that can vary quite a bit because you do end up running out of energy fairly quickly. So you just go and trade with him, sell only 5 at a time. You'll want to sell 5 of every single one of your resources. You'll also want to make sure that you have a space open. You'll notice there that our gold went to our very last lot instead of to our one where our mace is. If you don't have a slot free, you will not be able to sell anything. It's a little bit weird how that worked. It doesn't end up replacing the item that you just sold, but you do have to have a item free to be able to start selling your items, so do keep that in mind. So if you're bringing something like an energy potion there, make sure to drop the vial before you go. And then once you do a full inventory, you just go to the world switcher, switch to another free-to-play world, do exactly the same thing again, and just keep repeating that until you're done. If you want to see how this full process works, I will link a video in the top right where I timed it and did all the data for this, but I won't bore you with doing that now unless you want to go see it in the top right. Links over there or in the description. Here we are, just selling the last few of our items here, and you can see our stack is 410k. I did have to use 2 wine just because there's sometimes a bandit stuck in here, and with only 10 HP, no armor, they kind of hit a little bit. No worries if you ever die just to the bandits. I have done that once. If you die to the bandits and take no player damage, your stuff will just stay there for an hour, so you don't need to really worry about that. But yeah, we end up making 200k, or actually like 210k profit in about 20 minutes or so. So doing that 3 times an hour, we will be able to make 600k an hour with this exact inventory that we just did. So just rebuy the capes, and then we'll go head back and bank all of this. Here we are, all safe and sound, not even finding a single player. We were even in Wilderness 8 for quite a few of that time too. We had to shuffle there twice, and we didn't even have to worry about any person coming to that general area. Do always keep a lookout though, because you never know. There may eventually be PKers there that come there. There's sometimes people making anchovy pizzas there for money, and they tend to be in like the 40ish to 50ish range. But I've found using a level 3 that you normally don't encounter much. You can also bring a defense pier or just anything with 25 magic there, and you'll be good to go. But yeah, that is what I have done to make all of this money. And you can see we have our 10 million there. I think it's like 10 million something. I think if we examine it, it'll say exactly. Yes, 10 million and 744k is how much I have made from just flipping like that constantly. You can do that 3 times an hour, and you can see what we just would have made there. We would have made over 600k doing that exact inventory. I currently don't have any more left because I'm transferring all of this over to my main account. But yeah, really good free-to-play money. I'm not quite sure anything else in free-to-play that can even come close to making 600k per hour. I hope you all use it well. Definitely get on it and abuse it as much as you can, because if this ever becomes very, very well known, it will completely crash, simply because if even 2 people are doing this at one time, it could completely crash how much you make per hour. But as of this current moment, a pretty solid 600k per hour. So I wish you all the best of luck. Have a wonderful time and see you all later. Goodbye.